Welcome to the personal side of business,
where you hear real stories from real entrepreneurs.
A special thank you to our sponsor, ErgoNext Insurance, for supporting the personal side of business. If you're an attorney, a paralegal, or a law firm, you work hard to protect your clients, so you should protect your business too. Whether it's professional liability, cyber threats, or everyday business risk, having the proper insurance lets you focus on what matters most, serving your clients with confidence. More than 750,000 small businesses trust ErgoNext Insurance for their business, and they have a 4.7 out of 5-star rating on Google. Getting a customized quote takes about 10 minutes, it's all online, and you can tailor coverage to fit your firm's needs. Click the link in the description to get your free quote today and see why so many professionals choose Next Insurance. Hi, and welcome to the personal side of business, where every business has a story. I'm your host, Jet Bunditwong. Today, my guest is Gary Mitchell. For more than 2 decades, he's been helping law firm owners build their businesses to create both success and freedom. His new book, The And Approach, argues that you don't have to choose between a thriving business and a fulfilling life. You can have both. Welcome to the podcast, Gary.
My pleasure, Jet. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah. So let's start with your story. How did we get here?
Okay, I'll give you the Coles notes because I don't want to take up the whole podcast time. Basically, I've always been a serial entrepreneur. I really have. Usually that's what happens with entrepreneurs. You have a certain bent, you want to create things, you want to build something. So I started my first business at 25 in Toronto. I built a national event, very successful, national marketing partners with big companies, national media exposure. Had no previous experience, just got in there, got my hands dirty, tried things, some things failed, learned, like most entrepreneurs, right? Then I moved out, by way of that business, I came out to Vancouver to promote the regional event, and fell in love with the place. I was like, what am I doing living in Toronto? I soon thereafter got back into politics, ran for Parliament 2004. That's the equivalent of the House of Representatives in the US. And thankfully I lost. And I mean that most sincerely. So as fortune would have it, I got approached by a lawyer to run his nomination campaign. That's like your primaries. Yeah. So he would earn the right to become the candidate. I jumped at the opportunity with the political background that I had. This guy was a good candidate, good person. He knew nothing. He was a blank slate. So imagine an artist with a blank canvas, right? And all my experience, both in front and in behind the scenes as volunteer and campaigner. So then he won the nomination and was adamant about me becoming his campaign manager. I reluctantly took on that role, but I did. And I was coaching him as a candidate. And it was one of those life aha moments, Jeff. I had always been the guy, and now I'm the guy behind the guy. And I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I don't mean from a power point of view or pulling the strings. I mean from witnessing another human being go through transformation, due in part to what I gave him, right? I mean, in fairness, he was a complete sponge. He took it. Lawyers are smart. When they're given the right direction, I mean, they learn quickly. He became an amazing candidate and was up against 2 veteran politicians. And in the last debate before the election, it was televised. He actually beat them. And I was sitting there in the studio, right in the back end, watching him on TV going, wow. So during this whole experience, his best friend, also a lawyer, took me aside one day and said, Gary, you really need to look at the legal industry. They really need help with these similar types of soft skills, people skills, which are transferable to business, right? Building relationships, networking, speaking, the stuff that lawyers and most professionals are never trained in, right? It's not just lawyers, but my connections were to law. I knew a lot of lawyers from my political background. I then spent 9 months researching online what was going on in the US, UK, and Australia, more locally what was going on in Canada. As serendipity would have it, the first chapter of the Legal Marketing Association, which had been around for, I think, 20 years at that point, the first chapter outside of the United States was being formed in Vancouver. Oh. I went to the forming meeting. I networked. I met numerous veteran legal marketers from the firms in the US, some of whom I'm still in touch with today, their friends and colleagues, and just, soaked in, just got as much information and understanding of the industry, lawyers, their needs, the challenges. And not soon after that, I landed my first client. 20 years in, I have niched over the last few years to drill down and work specifically with small law firm owners. And I'm loving it, Jet, because it's entrepreneur to entrepreneur. It reminds me back of the day when I was working directly with the candidate. It was just me and him, and we got so much done in such a short period of time. I mean, I do have this drive. And now with the latest book, The And Approach, this has become my mission. It's become my mission to show law firm owners, and soon branching out to all other business owners, that you can build a thriving business and have an amazing life with time to enjoy the fruits of all your labor. You put so much time and effort into growing your baby, your business. It's a shame when you see people just chained to the desk, right? Nothing moves unless they're involved. So this is now my mission, and I'm very driven in spreading the word and showing as many business owners, because small business is at the heart of both economies in the United States and Canada. It accounts for, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's up there around 80% of GDP.
Yeah. I think it's like 80 something.
Yeah. Small business owners. I mean, we drive the economies of our countries, and we're innovating. We're creating new things. I would like to see more people enjoy their lives around all the work they've put into that,
Yeah. I think, from your book, there's a lot of things that I felt are really are important to be able to spread out, not just in law firms and lawyers, but to be able to a lot of different businesses. And one of them is building systems, right? That you talk about. And I think that's one of the hardest things for small business owners to do in any industry. It's because you're starting this business, you're getting going, and you're just seeing this tunnel that you have to try to get to the other side. And for a lot of times that tunnel goes on forever, and you're just trying to do it. So for someone to come in there and go, hey, you need to step back for a second and start to build a system so you're not working until you're 85 years old. Maybe you can sell the business, maybe hire people, start to have a vacation, start to have a life out of it. What are some of the things that you feel are important in a small business owner creating so they can build that life?
Okay, this is such a good question, and there's so much to unpack in it. First of all, you mentioned selling the business. So one of the first things I do when I work with a firm owner, and typically my clients are at a stage where they have already achieved success. They're usually doing over 2 million a year in revenue already. So they have people working for them. They've hit some bumps. They've got some scars and bruises along the way, right? They've made some mistakes. They've had some success. They've reached a plateau. So the first thing I ask them is, what's your end game? Where do you see this going? Because here's another example of the and approach. I want to start there and then back it, reverse engineer it, back it to today. And what will happen is, over the course of my working with them, we are not only going to have them gain more freedom, and I will go into my formula in just a minute, but I want to give the visual or the vision of this. Not only will they begin to gain more freedom, but they're going to increase the value of their firm or their company. Right. So when it does come time for semi-retirement, full retirement, whatever their next stage of their career is, they have built something that is actually worth something, right? Yeah. And that's because of the systems, the proven methodology, the team, the talent. Someone's coming in, they're buying a turnkey operation. They're not having to reinvent the wheel, including the branding. I'll get them off their lawyer name and get a real, more corporate kind of, I love branding. It's creative. I love everything creative. So where do we begin? We begin with a SWOT analysis of the owner: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, the old school, Jet, I'm a little bit older than you. So in the early days of my entrepreneurial journey, all the books were talking about, you look at your weaknesses, fill up your socks, fix this, fix that, get better at this, all that. For most of us, it seemed logical. Yeah, we should probably improve our weaknesses. Well, then my number one guru for business leadership, organizational structure, Steve Jobs, comes around, and he turns that theory upside down in a big way. He said, no. Don't even worry about your weaknesses. Forget them. Turn all of your attention, focus, and energy to mastering your strengths. So I say to my clients, let's get you to become a Jedi, right? Yeah. At what your strengths are. And that's not the same for every owner. We could talk about that but that's the first step. From there, then we systematically build the A team around them. So systematically building complementary skill sets and experiences around their strengths. In the meantime, we're filling the holes left by their weaknesses. And at the end of the day, this allows the owner to start delegating some of the responsibilities off his or her plate, off their desk, slowly but surely. Trust is a big issue with lawyers, okay? I'm sure it is with other business owners. Yeah. This is your baby, right? It's your thought. You put your heart and soul into it, blood, sweat, and tears. It's hard to let go of control. For lawyers, letting go of control is a number one challenge to overcome for growth. And I will tell them very frankly, unless you learn to give up some control, you will never grow to where you want to grow to. I'm going to help you. I'm going to show you how, right? You don't just do it overnight. You don't just, and part of the problem here is that the hiring process as well is not, it's damaged. Most of the clients I've worked with will wait till the building's on fire before they make a hire. At that point, they don't have any time to properly instruct and do the proper delegation. So the junior tries to do the work, inevitably fails, comes back to the owner. The owner throws his or her hands up in the air and says, I knew it. I should have just done it myself. And the cycle perpetuates itself. So when I say hire the A team, I mean, we need to get the right people. So step 1, SWOT analysis. Step 2, get the right people. Step 3, get them in the right roles. Just having the right people is not enough. We've got to make sure everybody is in the right roles, functioning at their highest level, just like I've done with the law firm owner, whatever their highest function is. What happens is you got people doing things faster, better, in less time, less stress, less cost involved, and that's freeing up the owner. Then you give them the right direction. Critical. Okay. Another fault of lawyers, they're rushing the instruction. They've done the task 1,000 times. It's in their head. It's like, breathing, right? So they rush the delegation instruction. Then you plug them into the right systems. And here's another thing. The owner often feels they have to like write everything down. They have to create all the systems and templates. I say, no, when you get the right people on the team, they're going to help you build those systems. They're going to help document everything. I mean, basically what we're talking about, Jet, is creating the McDonald's of law firms or the McDonald's of any business. I mean, I don't eat their food. But it is the most brilliant franchise ever created on the planet. And every other food franchise, and probably other franchises for that matter, have been modeled after it. Because whether you're in San Diego, where you are, or Vancouver, where I am, or on the other side of the world, when you go into a McDonald's and order a burger, it's going to be the same, right? Yeah. So we aim for the same thing in a law firm. Whether it's Joe or it's Anna doing the legal work, it's going to be the same quality. And that is done by following systems and templates. So these are the patterns, the strategies that I help. It takes time. It sounds simple because I'm a fan of keeping things simple, but it's the only time I'm going to use but. Simple does not mean easy. Yeah. We are talking about human beings. All of this also takes great leadership. Okay. And great leadership takes putting the ego aside. Many law firm owners, many founders, business owners, entrepreneurs, it's a tough bit. I know. I have a healthy ego. Creators, innovators, right? We have to have a certain level of ego to go and take the risks that we do. I mean, we're bordering on sanity here, the risks we take in business. I had this conversation to one of my best friends who is like the chair of the education department for university. So they're teaching future teachers, also academic. He goes, I could never do what you're doing. And I laughed and I said, well, if everyone could do it, everyone would be doing it because the freedom that we get from it is amazing, right? I can work from anywhere in the world. My and is traveling, bucket list travel, right? So we look at the end game. What's the plan? We reverse engineer and we put into practice these proven strategies. It's always a little different. Getting back to going on the law firm owner's strength and translating that to the business owner's strength, especially practitioners, right? Technical practitioners it's a profession. On one hand, I had a law firm owner who wanted to grow the firm and is growing the firm, but wants nothing to do with leading it. He completely runs away from HR and marketing. It's like he wants to be in the courtroom advocating for his clients. That's his juice. He thrives on it, right? So I'm never going to try and change that, right? That makes him happy. We also deserve to be happy in our work, in our careers. We're spending so much time at it. So we need to build his team around his strength. His strength is advocating. His strength is litigating in the courtroom. Okay, great. Then we're going to find an amazing HR person. We're going to find an amazing marketing person. I bridge the gap for those until we find those professionals. And that it frees him up to be doing the work he loves, right? So he's growing the firm. And he has the freedom to do the work he loves. More fulfilling. He's making tons of money, but he's not burning out, trying to be all things to all people. So there's a quick overview of the process I work with my clients on.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that because that does seem like you can apply that to almost every business. Yes, and I think for you finding the strengths of it and then and then filling those gaps in the what quote unquote weaknesses that the business owner needs to fulfill. I think it helps them to thrive, be happy, like you're saying, and then not have to worry about those parts that they're just like, I'm not good at this and I don't want to do this. Because I hear that a lot. I think there's a lot of business owners are like, especially with the marketing, especially with the areas of financial things like that, where they're just like, that's not my forte, but I love to be an electrician to build this out. But I think, I wanted to ask you, you were explaining all of that, is there's a little bit of a mindset shift that the business owner needs to go through as well, right? Because even though that person loves to be in the trenches and do all those things, they still need to look at the goal that you were talking about and go, hey, you want to sell this, you want to do this. You can't do this forever. You're going to have to eventually start to move yourself into the right positioning and be able to set yourself up so that you're going to win in all these other aspects of the business, hiring the people, getting yourself to, so you can live a healthier life, which I think that's part of this whole underlying thing. It's not just the freedom, but also to be able to be healthy, go into your 60s, 70s, and 80s and be able to enjoy it and not just be like, I'm miserable. Like I've just been working 80 hours a week.
Exactly.
What are some of the tools that you use to help someone shift their mindset from, I need to do this way, and then you know what, I'm seeing the light. I'm able to catch what you're throwing at me to be able to get to my goal.
Well, with lawyers, I mean, let's face it. As serendipity would have it, I started with the toughest crowd on the planet, the most skeptical, critical, analytical, risk-averse perfectionists on the planet. I mean, these are all human traits. We all have them, but I always think lawyers have them 100 times over. Right, than most average business owners. So we all have these traits. So I start by building the trust with them and letting them know I get them. I get how their brain works, the lawyer mind. And there's a whole chapter in the book about this. The lawyer mind basically relies on left brain functions, the analytical thinking, the critical thinking, which is exactly why we hire them, by the way. Right? Yeah. That's exactly what we want from a lawyer. The entrepreneurial mind takes into account more right brain functions of communication, collaboration, empathy, innovation, risk taking, less risk aversity. Complete opposite. So the irony is the skills that make for a great lawyer impede these law firm owners from becoming great as a business owner. So I have to show them to wear two hats. Okay. And the percentage of what they decide, how much time they spend with those hats on, is it 80% lawyer hat, 20% entrepreneur hat, or 50-50? That's ultimately up to them. I'm not going to tell them, right? Because again, it's their choice. It's their business, their life. And it's different with everyone. I've had clients that run the gamut, clients that could totally leave the law altogether, and they're full-time CEOs. I'm like, great. Right? And then this particular client I mentioned that wants nothing to do with it, obviously signs off on it, right? Will be a part of mentoring lawyers because somebody has to do the legal work, right? And that the law firm owner will not be doing full-time legal work forever, as you mentioned. So a lot of it is helping them understand the way they think now and the way they need to be thinking in order to grow. Now, from the beginning, I said lawyers are very smart. So they can stumble along for many years and on the outside look successful. The revenue's coming in, they're growing, they have the car, they have the home, they have the vacation. So it looks like they're successful on the outside, but they're missing their daughter's soccer practice. They're missing their son's concert. They're missing their wedding anniversary dinner, right? When they're on vacation, it's like this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's not success, in my opinion. And the generational shift that's going on too with from Gen X, which I'm a part of, to millennial is more, each generation seems to be grasping for more of the life part. Right? So we create a business to serve our life, not a life to serve our business. And that I see changing with each generation, the percentage of people who want to have a quality of life, whatever that means for them, right? Again, your why, it's different than mine, different than the guy across the street, the woman down the hall. The important thing is that you never lose sight of what your why is. What is the and, right? I mentioned my and is bucket list travel. I'm fascinated with different cultures and history, and that's my juice. And I get to work from wherever I am exploring in the world. I have risked a lot. I have sacrificed a lot, but that's where I am. And I'm living my life, right? The way I want to on my terms. And so that's the mission. The mission is to help other people do that. And most people, we've been conditioned to believe it has to be either or, but this one or that one. And I'm like, get rid of those words from your vocabulary. No more but, no more are, no or, no more either. Replace all those words with and, because this is the irony of all this, Jeff, is especially growing a business, right? I'm not an expert on everything on the planet. No, just growing a business, growing a law firm. The different combinations of ands are limitless. And when you get into it, you start to see this makes sense, that we're doing this and this and this and this all at the same time, because they're not separate. They're all intertwined. They're all related. And the impact of making small shifts in this area and this area and this area and this area, and I mean small shifts, not monumental, the impact is huge, right? So,
and something that you do, I guess, promote is consistency in those, right? So I think like someone comes in and they're like, we'll just do this first year. And maybe they're like, I'll check in every 6 months. And all of a sudden you go back and you're like, you did not do any of those things. But consistency,
no.
I think you have to be consistent in what you're doing for the longevity to reach those goals, especially for a lawyer.
Well, that's
right.
Yeah. That's the success of life. I mean, one of the greatest books I've read in the last 5 years is Atomic Habits, Thomas Clear. And I'm listening to this almost 3 years ago. It was near the end of 23 because I was back in Toronto. It was winter. And I'm listening to it I'm going, oh my God, this is what I've been teaching my clients for almost 20 years. You hit upon it. Consistency. It's the habit. So lawyers always how much time should I spend on this every day? It's a classic question, because lawyers always want a black or white answer. Okay. They want a definitive number. It's their mind. It's the way they think. So at first I laugh. I go, okay, what's more important than how much time you spend on this every day is that you get into the habit of doing it every day.
Yeah.
Fitness trainers will tell you the same thing. It's not as important how long you are at the gym. It's that you get to the gym every day, that you build the habit of putting your shorts on, putting your shirt on, putting those running shoes on, getting your out the door and to the gym. And I know this, I'm a big fitness buff. I've had many personal fitness trainers. It's the same thing. So the consistency, making it a habit. Habits generally form in, they say, 6 weeks to 3 months, and then it becomes second nature. And I have so many of these systems that I've passed on to my clients. Some of them have been self-taught, frankly, because I've worked from home for 20 years, which takes discipline. So I've had to build systems. So I share those. Some of them are taught to me by my clients. Like we're co-creating them in the coaching work, right? They have a challenge. We need to overcome it. We look at it. We find a solution. It works. And so that's another tool in the toolbox I can take to the next client engagement.
Yeah.
It is all about habits, consistency, and systems. And and it's fascinating. I mean, this is what makes for successful people. Is they find out what works and they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. And, there's another, I felt, theme that you have is kind of delegating, backing off, and not micromanaging. Because that's, I would think for a lawyer, that's especially, I would think maybe for someone who's the first handful of years, right? They're, like you're saying, they're doing things that they feel like are working and everything, their success to it. And then you're asking them to go there and go, I need you to back off a little bit and then trust the process. Is that one of the harder things that you need to convince?
Massively challenging, because you're dealing with, they're perfectionists, right? The control issues, they like to control things. It's massively. And so I tell them, well, first of all, I walk the walk. Okay. About 3 months ago, my EA, executive assistant, gave me a compliment. I've given her many, and I'm just so glad I hired her. I used to work with her a few years ago as a VA through a service, and stopped that. And then I reached out to her last year because I'd already had the opportunity to work with her. So she says to me one day on our weekly call, we do a weekly meeting call. She goes, Gary, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to work with you. You give me free reign and you don't keep me on a leash. You don't micromanage me. My other client, it's also another professional service firm. They do micromanage. So I do walk the walk. I'm going to give you another quote from Steve Jobs. We don't hire smart people so we can tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they tell us what to do. Again, when you're building your A team, ego aside, you hire the smartest people yet you can possibly find. the most experienced, smartest people with the best attitude. But I must use the caveat. I say it in the book. I've said it for 20 years. The longer I'm on this planet, I'm proven this is over and over right. 99% of everything is attitude. So experience, attitude, and the skill sets. And this will help them relinquish some of the control when they can trust in the people around them.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't happen overnight, but they're not foolish. Just because it takes time for them to trust doesn't mean they're not capable of it. And the beauty thing of it with lawyers, and again, it's a human trait. Once you gain the trust, they're very, very loyal. Like, it's tough to get it, but once you've got it, maintaining it, you just have to keep doing the same excellence. Right. But the delegating part, yeah, that's a massive thing I work with them on. And again, they're never trained in this. They've likely had poor examples of it from their generation when they were coming up, right? In some cases, I'm wrong. In some cases, they've had excellent mentors who did put in the time, did show them the ropes, but it's a cutthroat profession. In the bigger firms, the partners they're looking at their billable hour targets. They're looking at their profit per partner. That's their measuring stick. So not a lot of them make time for bringing the juniors up. It's kind of selfish, actually. That's why I don't like working with the bigger firms. I'm not aligned with those values, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say, sorry to cut you off, but when
No worries.
is there a threshold where you feel like, let's say for the amount of partners, employees, whatever it is that's inside that law firm, that you feel like that's where it becomes uncomfortable to really work with in general?
I don't know. I can't say like there's a definitive number because every circumstance is different. You're working with different personalities, right? I've heard many times that 3 equity, so 3 owners is a good number because we are talking smaller firms, right? So you could have 3 owners and then you could have 25 associates or contract lawyers, right? That's still a fairly good sized small firm. I like 3 because it's not an even number. It's if you divide it evenly 3 ways, then someone has to be the sign off, right? It can never be, you can't just sit there. They have to make decisions. They have to move forward. Again, some of these clients, they will remain the only owner until they're getting closer to retirement and succession. Others will want to bring in partners at an early stage, right? Because they need the management team. So when we're building out the management, it can happen either 2 ways or 3 ways. All partners. So you've got lawyers, you've got partners with you, and each one is taking a different management role. Some people are prone to the marketing side. Some people are prone to the operations side, like the financial side of things, the bookkeeping, the accounting, the systems, the operations, workflow, different skill sets, different personality traits. The second route is professional management. So hiring a CEO or equivalent, COO, CMO, marketing director, marketing manager, whatever you want to call it, office manager. And the third option is a combination of both, which I tend to gravitate to. I do believe that lawyers should rely on professional management. They should not try to do things all on their own. Keep in mind, they're all working with a practice with their own clients at the same time, right? So it's like when you're in management as a lawyer, it's like having 2 full-time jobs. 1, your own practice, and 2, the managerial role that you have. So I think it puts too much pressure on them. And why wouldn't you reach out to experts? If you're the expert lawyer, why wouldn't you reach out to a marketing expert and get them on your team? Yeah. Why wouldn't you reach out to a leadership organizational expert and get them on your team all the way through? I mean, to me, it makes sense. That's building your A team, right? Like a sports team, right?
Yeah.
Baseball is my favorite sport. The role of the pitcher is very different from the role of the first baseman or the catcher or the outfielder. You need all of them to be a good team, right? It's the same thing as a business. It's not, all the roles are not the same. And we have to get people in their highest functioning position, what they're best at. So when I start out with that model with a SWOT analysis, we're starting at the top. We're starting with the owner, but you must carry that formula through the entire organization as you build down and wide, build down and wide across, because it's a winning formula. You don't give it up. You continue to use that winning formula as you build the firm. The good news is that there's a lot of talent out there that's unhappy with where they currently are. The opportunities, if you do this right, creating a culture of innovation, collaboration, and partnership, I've seen it, what you can attract in the way of talent. It's amazing. And then The other thing that lawyers will appreciate, they haven't experienced it as much perhaps as other business owners because they're hiring policies. But when you get the right people, you don't have to micromanage because they have the right attitude. They show up to work, want to be there, want to contribute, will do whatever it takes, will contribute to the growth, will be a team player, and you're not going to have to look over your shoulder, right? You're going to build trust pretty quickly. So that's a relief, quite honestly. That's a relief.
And I think that has to do with a lot of what you talk about with leadership. And I feel like in that leadership, you build a culture inside of a workplace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Starts to,
you have to build a culture that allows your people permission to make mistakes, to learn from those mistakes, as you did, as I've done. Anybody who's honest, right? I was like, look at all the bruises on my forehead, all the mistakes I've made over the years, right? You have to create a culture that allows people to thrive, to come to the table with ideas, to not be pushed away. I recently was in text or email conversation with a former client, and it became very clear to me he has not done that. And we'll get into the details, but I brought up something and it was a trivial pursuit, and he was being copied on all the emails. That was red flag number one. That means he's the bottleneck for everything in the firm. I wanted to also say he's very successful, 20 lawyers now. Okay.
Wow.
I'm not sure if he's 40 yet. Maybe 40. I mean, that's really outstanding. Right.
Yeah.
But he's the bottleneck, and I haven't had the opportunity, and I may never get the opportunity to explain to him. He's created that for himself because his people are afraid of making decisions. They're afraid of being proactive or taking the reins because he's created the culture where everything has to pass by him. So I assume unintentionally, he's created a culture of reliance. Everything and everyone relies on him. And he will, if he hasn't already, he's going to hit that ceiling very quickly. He's going to hit the plateau, which is fine if he wants to continue working 60 to 80 hours a week and not grow from there. That's his decision. It's his business. It wouldn't be my decision. But, again, I'm not here to dictate what people should do. I'm here to help them get to a better way of doing business, to enjoy more of their life, if that's what they want.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Gary, we're going to wrap up. I have one last question for you. If you could give advice to a young lawyer just coming out of law school and try to catch him early on, what would that advice be?
You know what? I would say take some risk, go with your gut, surround yourself with outstanding people, build a team of exceptional professionals around you, and build your own law firm.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Gary Mitchell, for coming on The Personal Side of Business. Please check out his book. Gary, where can we find your book and get in touch with you? Because I want to bring up your on-track coaching as well.
Yeah. ontrackcoach.com. There's no K. ontrackcoach.com. I'm on LinkedIn. The book, The And Approach, How to Grow Your Law Firm and Gain More Freedom. It's on Amazon in hard copy and Kindle. Working on the audiobook now. And we'll be putting up the companion chapter workbooks on the website, ontrackcoach.com, within the next 2 weeks. So you can go from theory right into execution. Next best thing to having your own coach will be those workbooks that will keep you accountable to the process. So lots going on. Reach out, whether you're a law firm owner or an entrepreneur. Love to hear from you. I love speaking shop with other entrepreneurs and builders.
All right. Well, great. Guys, you're a lawyer or you're just a business owner, please reach out to Gary. Thank you, Gary, for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Personal Side of Business.